And welcome back to another Java tutorial. My name is Kelvin from Firehawk Productions. In the last video we talked about something called variables, and we learned that there were four common types. The first one is an integer, which is here. The second one is a double, then we had a string, and last a boolean. And we also learned how to print variables using this line right here. And so, as I promised, in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to ask users for input and store the data as variables. So I'm going to make a new class, and you can follow me and do the same thing. So right click the default package and click on new and just click on class, and I'm just going to name this class user input and press finish. Okay, so the first thing we do is we have to define the main method. So let's do that. If you remember, it's public static void main open brackets string of arguments, like this. Okay, so first, in order for us to ask the user for input, we need to import something called a scanner, which scans for input, such as the keyboard input. So follow me in what I'm gonna type, and I'll explain to you everything in just a sec. So import java.util.scanner and then semicolon. Okay, so why do I need to import java.util.scanner? Well, it's because when you first create your class, it does not. Okay, Java has a lot of built-in library. Has a built-in library, and what happens is when you create a new class, not everything from the library is imported. So in this case, the scanner needs to be imported in order for us to use it. So after that, inside the main method, we need to create the scanner. So we need to create the scanner just like we did with the variable. So here's how it works. Just follow me and I'll explain to you a little bit more in just a sec. So scanner input equals new scanner open bracket system.in and then semicolon. Okay, so what does this line mean? Just like a variable, in front of so the word input here can actually be anything. I can type keyboard, it still works. I can type key in, still works, but I just chose to use input so it makes more sense. And in front of the word input, I put scanner because you have to let Java know that input here is a new scanner object. So the scanner itself is an object. I will talk to you more about objects later on. Just right now, bear with me and let me show you how this is done. And within the brackets here is just system dot and then input. So after that, let's try to do something simple, like ask the user what their name is. So first, we want to print out the question, what is your name? So remember how to do a system print. You just do system dot out.println, and in here we can ask, what is your name? Question mark. And this is going to print out what is your name. And in the next line, what we want to do is we want to take whatever the user typed and store it as a variable and then display it to them. So let's try this. We want to say string name, because we know for a fact that what they type in is going to be a string. Their name is a string. So string name equals input, which matches this, dot next, like this. And just type in this for now, and I'll explain to you everything later on. And once you have that, this basically just says the variable name is a string, and it represents the next thing that the person types as an input. Okay, and then after that, what do we want to do? We want to display to them their name. So make another print statement. So system.out.println, and then you want to print out their name. Okay, actually, let's make it more interesting. Let's say welcome space plus their name. So, okay, let's see what happens. I'm going to save and run the program. First, it'll ask you, what is your name? Which is exactly what this line is. And so I'm going to type Calvin and press OK, or press enter. And then it's going to say, welcome Calvin. So if you can see here, the string name is now Calvin. And then I outprinted welcome name. So you see, if I didn't have this variable here and I just constantly typed in, let's say if I just did something like this, then no matter what that person types, it'll always print welcome Calvin instead of welcome their name. So this is why variables are very important. Alright, so let's go back to this and do plus name. Okay, so you're probably wondering what this means right here, the next. This basically means the string name now represents the next thing that the user types from the input. And so there are 4 kinds of input, and I'll show you what each of them can be. So it could be input.next, that's one we learned. It could be input.next line. It could be input.next int. And it could be input.next double. Okay, so let me explain to you what each one of those mean. So notice how it's input.next line. So what's the difference between this one and this one? Well, let me just show you. I'm going to erase all this. Okay, so let's say instead of putting... Okay, actually, let me try this. What if that person typed in a name that has more than one word? So it has a string. So it has a space. So let me try this. if it asks me what is my name, I'm gonna type in Kelvin Lala Man. Okay. Now you might think that it's gonna print out welcome Kelvin Lala Man, but actually it'll just take the first word that shows up without a space. So in this case it'll get Kelvin. Now if I changed it to input.next line, watch what happens now. If I press OK and I type in the same thing, Kelvin Lala Man, it's gonna give me Kelvin Lala Man. So the difference between input.next and input.next line is that input.next only takes the first word. And then if it detects a space, then it cuts off. However, in input.next line, it takes the entire line and displays it. Okay, so what about the other two? There was also input.next .next int and input.next double. Let me show you what each one means. So let me change this question to how old are you? And let's try using input.next int. Okay, and don't forget, since you're telling Java that the next input will be an int, you also have to change the variable type to an int. And so after I did that, the error is gone. And let's try changing this to change the variable name to age. Okay. And also change this to age. And instead of displaying welcome age, let's do you are age plus space years old. And let's try that. So save. So it asked me, how old are you? And I'm gonna say 20. And it'll display, you are 20 years old. So you see how the input can have different types, can represent different types of variables. It can be an int, it can be a string. Now let's try doing it a double. Let's try double age. And we change this to a double. Okay, .next double. And this time, instead of typing 20, remember what a double does. Remember what a double is. A double is anything, or is a number that is a decimal or fraction, etc. So it asks me how old I am. I'm going to say 20 and a half, 20.5. Then I'll just say you are 20.5 years old. Now if I tried to put 20, it'll still work. But notice that it won't just print 20, it'll print 20.0 because a double will always be represented as a decimal number. Alright, so now let's try to put everything together. So instead of just asking for a person's age, let's ask them for both their name and their age. So let's do this. Let's ask them for their name first. System.out.println quotations, what is your name? And don't forget the semicolon. And then do string name equals input.next. Okay. So first it's going to ask what is your name, and then the variable name is going to store the next input. And then it's going to ask how old are you, and then age is going to store the next input. But here's the tricky part. Watch what happens when I try to run this program. Okay, I'm going to save and press run. What is your name? So that's pretty normal. Let's just type in Kelvin Lala Man, and remember input.next only takes the first word, so Kelvin in this case. But then it's gonna give me an error after it asks me how old are you. Now if you look at the error, it's going to tell you the error exists in line 12. This is line 12. So why is there a problem with this? Well, whenever you create a scanner, the scanner can only represent one type. So in this case, since it already represented string, so next, since it already represented a string, it can't also represent a double. It can only be one or the other. So what you need to do here is create another scanner just for the age. Okay, just for, well, not just for the age, for the double. So scanner age input equals new scanner, same thing, system.in. Now, instead of using, so right here is where we need to change the input. So instead of just using input, because input's already taken for strings, and we created a new scanner just for a double. So instead we can do age input equals next double. So now let's try it. Save, run. What is your name? Well, Kelvin Lala Man. And now it doesn't give you an error. Instead it continues and it asks you how old you are. And I'm just going to say 20. And it's going to say you are 20 years old. Oh, I forgot to change here. We should probably say welcome plus name plus comma, just because I like a comma, and change this to lowercase y. Okay, let's try that. Save, play. What is your name? Kelvin. How old are you? 6. It's going to say, welcome Kelvin, you are 6 years old. So this works. This is how you display user's input after taking it in as a variable. Okay, so I think that's enough for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to do simple arithmetic, and you'll find out that it's not as simple as it sounds. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you have any questions regarding any topic, please leave it in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, and see you all next video.